Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start our second half, which will be a conversation with Mr. Dennis Smith, as Ms. Boehner was not able to be here this evening. Just a reminder tonight that League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan and volunteer-based organization, and we do not support nor endorse any candidate nor party ever. So the views expressed by Mr. Smith this evening will be his and his alone. In the interest of moving this evening along, we're just going to get right to the questions, and hopefully we get some from the audience to make it go just a little bit longer, okay?
No opening statement?
Yeah, we'll do the ones that you got in advance.
Okay.
So,
Great.
yes. And we'll start with the 1-minute ones and see where we go from there.
Okay, will it be a rebuttal?
Upon yourself? Boy, are you going to start arguing with yourself? Wow, okay. This I got to see. All right. All right, please tell us about your background and previous civic involvement that support your candidacy for this position. Remember also, no personal attacks upon yourself or anyone else. All right, go for it.
Good evening. Thank you to everyone for being here this evening. It's been my pleasure to represent Osseo and Maple Grove for the last 4 years in the House of Representatives. I've lived in the district with my family for the last 23 years. At the House of Representatives, I try to bring a collaborative approach to represent the entire district as well as serving the needs of the entire state. I serve on the Commerce Committee, the Civil Law Committee where I'm Vice Chair. Also, we cover data practices. I'm on the Education Finance Committee and the Rules Committee as well. Through the last 4 years, I've been able to have 34 bills that I chief authored signed by Governor Dayton. And all of these bills had bipartisan support. I'm very proud of that accomplishment, taking a collaborative approach, listening to the other side, and finding solutions that are good for Osseo, Maple Grove, as well as the rest of the state of Minnesota.
Thank you. Minnesota's transportation infrastructure is in dire need of funding for repairs and new roads. How would you propose funding road and bridge repairs and new construction projects over the next 10 years?
We definitely need dedicated funding for transportation. We have that right now with our gasoline tax. I supported measures in the past to have auto repair parts, the tax from that, as well as for car rentals. There's been some opposition to that idea, but we need to continue to carve out specific funding because it's one of the 3 things in our state constitution that we need to fund. We need to fund our transportation. There's been a lot of talk at the Capitol the last few years about trains. And some people are really passionate about it. Some people are really, not very excited about them. I look at it from a more pragmatic approach about what is the return on investment for trains. And we need to make sure that our community here in Osseo, as well as Maple Grove, is not disadvantaged from the rest of the metropolitan area and the state because we do not have a train close to us. So we need to make sure that the investment for roads and bridges so we can continue the expansion of 610, 169 as well as 94, things that are going to have a real impact here in Osseo.
Do you support further reduction in taxes for residents and businesses? Why or why not? And if so, which taxes would you like to see reduced?
When you look competitively across all 50 states in our country, there's 8 major tax buckets, and Minnesota is in the top 5 of all 8. And that's great to a certain degree because we have a rich tradition, pun intended, of having a lot of taxes, paying a lot of taxes for our state. We have a lot of amenities, we have great parks, we get a lot of things for that. But when taxes become too high, businesses leave. And we cannot have employers leave our state, whether someone wants to expand a business here or start a business. I've worked at the legislature about having decreasing taxation in a lot of the different categories, as well as decreasing regulation. We need to make sure that our area here in Osseo and Maple Grove and the rest of the state is really open to businesses being here, and taxation is a part of that.
Do you support free all-day pre-kindergarten for every 4-year-old in the state? Why or why not? And if so, how would you see this being delivered?
I don't support all-day pre-K from a mandatory basis. Right now, we have a scholarship program for children in need and families that need that economic assistance. I've proudly supported the expansion of that. It's more than quadrupled since I've been at the state legislature for the pre-K program. That is the right way to deliver that. pre-K isn't necessary for all of our children. Some children get those services, get those needs met at home, and the expansion of a 14th grade for all-day pre-K is really adding a 14th grade to our educational system, and we're really giving up on all the 13 grades in between. I'm not ready to give up on every kindergartner through senior year high school. All those seniors. We need to make sure that we're educating all of our children. We have limited resources in education, and the expansion of the scholarship program is really the best way to deliver that.
Short questions. Tell me about a time where you had to work with somebody across the aisle where you personally had to compromise what you thought was your goal to find the compromised solution to an issue.
Yep. So, as I mentioned before, I set a record for 34 bills passed in the legislature with bipartisan support that Governor Dayton signed. And getting support from the other side of the aisle is sometimes a tactical and challenging task. One particular time, there was a bill where we were trying to expand. It's a home ownership bill. We have in the Twin Cities, we have condominiums and condos and townhomes that we have too many rentals. The builders are not building them right now. They're building them as rentals as opposed to home ownership. So we needed to change the laws about the liability in that aspect. For one particular bill, there was a key provision that a key amendment that I could have had several people offer throughout the legislature, but I found a Democrat, Representative Ray Dean, who ran for mayor of Minneapolis, who, if you know Representative Dean, him and I don't agree on too many things, but we found a way to agree on this bill because he's concerned about home ownership as well and providing ability for middle income and for lower income to have the opportunity to have that American dream. So I offered an amendment for him to present on the House floor that showed that this bill was going to have broad bipartisan support. And it probably would have passed without his amendment, but because he offered the amendment as opposed to myself or someone else from my own party, we received over 120 votes for that bill, and Governor Dayton signed it the moment he received that bill. And I'm very proud about that accomplishment.
Thank you. Going on with affordable housing, for narrowing the scope here to Osseo and Maple Grove, since we're in Osseo tonight, how will you support affordable housing in Osseo and Maple Grove?
We need to continue to provide the right incentives for affordable housing to come to this community as well as the other communities throughout the state. Home ownership is a coveted idea in our country, and we need to continue to expand the programs offered that are currently at the House of Representatives to make sure that we are making sure the builders can build these structures and also have the financing for the residents so they can purchase them.
Next question. How do you decide how to vote if constituents seem to have alternative views to your own?
There are many times when I don't know what to do about an issue, and I listen to constituents. Often constituents will call or email or stop by my office in Maple Grove to talk. Sometimes they send emails, but also I have town halls. I'm very proud of the fact that I've had a town hall every meeting for this biennium of the legislative session. And I learn a lot by listening to what the residents want. Being a representative isn't always about just doing what you want. You need to find a way to represent the district without giving in on your own core values.
A quick follow-up, yes or no. Have you ever changed your vote because the majority of people reaching out to you presented a stronger opinion?
Oh, yes, several times.
What is your approach to bring Minnesota in conformity with the new federal tax laws?
And I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Absolutely. What is your approach to bring Minnesota in conformity with the new federal tax laws?
So the approach is we need to have a bill. We presented a bill that Governor Dayton vetoed. Tax conformity is very important to all of our businesses and individuals in our state. And we need to present that same bill or something similar regardless of who the governor is going to be, so that person will sign that bill because we need to have the federal tax conformity. There's a lot of money to be saved by the hardworking people of Osseo.
Back to the gasoline tax. Electric vehicles are paying little in gas tax for the roads that they use. More will be operating in the near future. How should they pay for using the highways then?
That's something we've been struggling with at the legislature about how to deal with these electric cars. Pushing towards more renewable energies and the impact on the environment, which we can't deny. We need to make sure that we're offering the proper incentives for electric cars to go forward and that market to develop, but not hurting the existing energy sources that we have. We haven't quite found that mix. In addition to the gasoline tax that electric car drivers don't have to pay. They also receive a credit for most electric cars that are bought. So many would say that the field is not fair once the car is purchased, but also in the using of it as well. And we need to look at having some more fairness in that department.
My softball question, since you're a resident of the Osseo Maple Grove area, what is it you love to do in this area?
Well, how long do I get to answer this one?
30 seconds.
Only 30 seconds? There's so many things I like to do. I like to go to the park across the street and talk to the residents of Osseo.
Such a politician answer. Okay. In summary, how do you intend to best serve your district and move the state forward?
It's the truth, though. It has truly been a privilege and an honor to represent Osseo and Maple Grove the last four years at the legislature. I have a very responsive leadership approach and really a record of accomplishments. As I mentioned, 34 bills with bipartisan support that Governor Dayton signed. I've worked on fully funding our educational system, having a record amount of money spent on public education in the last 2 years. 9% increase, 19% since I've been in the legislature. 19% increase. That's a true commitment to our education. Delivering affordable health care. You may have seen the news yesterday by the Commerce Department where health for the individual market, health premiums are going to go down up to 25% because of the reforms that the Republican House of Representatives that I voted for, some of them that I authored, put into effect. Protecting our most vulnerable and our senior citizens, delivering the largest tax cut in the last 20 years in the state of Minnesota, and still our state is still producing additional revenue above the forecast. And also the largest transportation bill in the last 10 years without raising taxes, because as I said before, I think that we're taxed too much in our state. Please visit my website, dennissmith.org, for more information. Please continue to talk to me as I visit your homes throughout the community. I look forward to your future support, and I respectfully ask for your vote November 6th, or if you vote earlier.
Once again, on behalf of the League of Women Voters and the Brickell Park Osseo Maple Grove and the North Hennepin Area Chamber of Commerce, I'd like to thank you for joining me this evening, and also like to thank the audience for joining us as well. Remember, if they couldn't get to your question or you have questions for Ms. Bonner, please contact them directly with your concerns. Remember to get out by or on vote December, or I can't even talk anymore. How many have I done these?
November 6th.
Oh, can you tell I'm a little busy? Thanks to Osseo High School, yeah. November 6th is the election day. You can get there early at your polling stations. Secretary of State will help you find it, and so will the League of Women Voters. Thanks, have a great evening.